Now maybe there's something missing in here. I see that there is a steel column, an 8x36 that I'm missing. If I want to bring that over, I just go into the project and references, which allows me to open any earlier project or a library, and just simply drag and drop content over from the earlier project. So from Michelle, I got an 8x36 that's missing in my current project. I open up the folder structure to make sure that I drop it in the right place, and then I move it from left to right. It tells me that there's a conflict. There's some resources in my current project that exist in the library or in the reference as well, that I just want to keep the existing ones. After dragging and dropping that steel column 8x36, you see that because I used this name to label my content, it automatically links and it draws that quantity of 22 feet directly from the elements that I received from the Tekla model. So now we've got a total cost over here. We can store this as a version. So this may be iteration number 1 for my project. I can save this version, and I call this baseline design, and click OK. Now that snapshot is stored in my project's history, and I always can refer back to it if I want to do a comparison later on. What I can also do in here now is export a cost. I've established a target or a budget for my project, and I can now pick that target to compare to, and I see that there's actually some stuff missing. The colors indicate whether a subdivision of my project is in budget, which is the case for substructure, as you can see. That color is green. Or whether it's at risk, yellow, within budget, being green, or too low, which is blue. And this graphical representation helps me quickly identify where I am at risk. So I can click on this item, and it will show me in the substructure where that element is. That is the more detailed breakdown of that cost. So once I'm all set with the cost plan for stage, I can move on to also use this for schedule planning. So I'm switching to the schedule planner profile, and start by using the manage tasks workflow item. I defined this list by copying and pasting either from a MS Project or a Primavera file, or I can keep a simple list in Excel as well. So I can just copy this, and then I can use the insert copy tasks function to quickly define this. Now all of these items except for one have cost information associated with them already, as you can see. And so we've got the activity code with their quantity and also the labor, so the resources level from the cost plan included. One of them, however, does not have information yet. The erect structural steel is not completed yet. So what I want to do is filter this cost plan and find everything that's related to steel erection activity. So to do that, I can right-click on my description field and start a custom filter for the cost planner. And I want to find everything, all of the descriptions that begin with erect. I know that in the cost plan, I named everything related to steel erection, starting with that word. I could say contains erect as well, but of course, some consistency in the naming of the line items is beneficial because you can easily find them in the cost plan when you get to the linking stage. I hit apply, and you can see already that the list is shorter. Click OK, and then expand to the lowest level, maybe this level, and I have all of the steel erection items in this list, which lets me then easily select all of these, not the erect forms actually, that's a different one, erect structural steel, and that then allows me to quickly map all of the costs associated with that work to the task. Done. What the application tells me now is that even though we have loaded the task list with cost and quantity information coming from the model, the software is not able to calculate task duration yet because we haven't told the software yet how to interpret these quantities. We need to tell the software that it should use the quantity that's in hours to determine what the duration of this task should be. Or if we don't have hours, we can say how many hours it takes or how many days it takes to put 1 ton of steel in place, another type of factor. Now, because this cost database contains all of the labor hours as well, we can create a one-to-one link between the cost plan and the scheduled task. So we say all of the hours that are in the estimate will become 1 hour in the schedule. So completely synchronized. Now there's some improvements here that we put in place. Let me expand this whole list. We can use the same filtering capability that we use on the cost planner side in Task Manager as well. What I want to do here is select all of the line items, all of the components that have the unit hour, because that's what I want to use. That filters it down to only showing those components, those resources that have the unit hour. Then I simply hit Control and A, or select everything, all of the line items. And there's a new button here in the ribbon that's about mapping. And the task driver settings will then allow you to apply the same factor to everything that is selected. So I could have selected everything that had a unit of tons as well, and then apply the factor that you have in your knowledge database or somewhere in a reference list that tells you how many tons can be put in place by a subcontractor A or B. In this case, we're using the conversion 1 hour in the estimate is 1 hour in the schedule. And I click OK, and all of those factors will then be applied. I can then remove the filters, and you can see that all of the items in my task list do not have or none of the items in my task list have any exclamation marks anymore, which means that all of them do have a calculated duration, or a calculated amount of work, I should say. The actual duration will come from after defining the crew size in the schedule planner. So let's quickly finish the scheduling preparation work by defining the locations as well. I've defined the locations by separating the superstructure from the foundation. So the foundation level is a location bounding box in the bottom half. The project is the overall project bounding box, and we split that in 2 segments, which means that I can also isolate the foundation level, and that only shows me those elements that are located in the foundation bounding box. I want to subdivide that a little bit further, and we'll switch to floor plan view to do that. Just adding a polyline to define a subdivision. So splitting it like this. Let's see. Moving it here. And then I press enter to actually define that split. I want to add one more polyline that starts, say, here, and move that all the way down to there. And we will see that we've got 3 locations, one that is no longer valid because we split the initial location, so I can just go ahead and delete this one. We do see some exclamation marks. That's because we need to refresh the quantities. We need to tell the elements where they are. So for that, we'll go back to the model register. And here's another benefit of staging your model work. You don't have to update the entire model. Excuse me. We only need to update the foundation level, or the foundation elements. And we simply hit the create takeoff items, and that will run the activation process, and now we've got a refreshed set of quantities. We go back to the define locations workflow item. We will see that we'll have additional bounding boxes for the foundation. And we can isolate those areas. There's actually some interesting pad footings there because I drew the line a little bit over those elements. I'm naming them, and that makes the model-based quantity information ready to be used for scheduling purposes. So in the schedule, we'll open that by using the Open Schedule workflow item. That will open up the Schedule Planner user interface, and we'll see flow lines that all start at the very same moment. So everything starts at day 0, and the production rates defined as part of the estimate, which resulted in the number of man-hours needed to complete that task, result in different slopes of lines. Now, the first thing that we need to do is to define logic. Before we do that, let's first take a look at the Gantt view. You see that these are the task definitions, but when I select these tasks and expand them, you will see that the actually the tasks are further subdivided as well. To define logic, we can use the network view and define finish to start dependencies, which can be modified as well. So these can be start to finish, finish to start, finish to finish, any of the typical CPM dependencies. This is a full CPM system with a layer on top of it that forces continuous flow, and that's what represented as flow lines. It means that there is a zero lag between work that needs to be done in locations. There's one blue line here, and that's because those locations are not connected. That means that the dependency needs to be defined on a higher level, so not on the superstructure foundation level, but on the project level, and that's what we see here. And we'll click OK. From that point on, we do have the tasks, as you can see, subdivided over the zones, and we can recognize rooms for optimization. A lot more detail is actually provided through earlier webinars in which some of the real-life use cases were explained, how you can identify where room for optimization is, how to mitigate risk, etc. Very interesting material to take a look at. I will keep it simple today to have enough time to do another iteration of the model as well. But quick optimization is by reducing the amount of time needed for erection of formwork for casting place concrete. Because all of these durations are based on quantities from the model with a production rate, a production factor applied to it, the system tells me you cannot just change the duration. This is a calculated duration. You have to do something to make that possible. The number of crews was 1, but the system tells me if you use 4 people, you get to a duration of 10.5 days, 10.5 shifts, where the original duration was 42.1 shifts. I accept that and click OK. And all of that information is then available through the overview of resources. Well, I can directly pull the resources from my cost plan. All of these were items that I had in my cost plan when I created that. And that results in an overview of the resources in a resource histogram. The 4 formwork carpenters that I need to speed up that work show up as a peak in resource demand here. So that's all integrated. That's a great benefit of having all this information in one place. You can do all these what-if scenarios and see the consequences, not just by looking at a 4D simulation playback, but you get all of the intelligence behind it too. You can see the numbers that make the shorter duration possible. So with our schedule now completed, and you can see all of the dependencies between the locations, we can go back to Vico Office and simply hit the Explore 4D workflow item to take a look at what we created in the schedule. So this is a kind of a byproduct of the scheduling exercise. Because everything is linked through the model, we can now play back the 4D simulation by hitting the play button and looking at the tasks that we defined in the schedule planner view. The 4D task groups that you see here are defined in the define for the simulation dialog, which means associating my task definitions with the groups that I define, and that gives it the colors that we're seeing right here. As you can see, my schedule is not optimal yet, so I'd better go back after the webinar to correct that. So that is the completed workflow that we looked at in this slide. So we went from the model in Tekla, published and activated, verified the quantities, planned the cost with formulas, and even compared it to a budget. And we planned the schedule after we defined locations. Now, what if I want to do another loop? So the design changed. What does that do to cost and time? Well, that is an exercise that in traditional work or traditional methodologies can take quite a lot of time. In the model-based world, with everything prepared the way we did, that is actually not too difficult. So what I can do is I'll just grab a few components or a few objects in this view, and I will copy to add another bay to this structure that we have here. I'm selecting this as well, and then just right-clicking and copying that over using this as a reference point. So I now have an additional set of elements in my project. I see that my snapping is not all that exact, but I will keep it as is. I'm going to go ahead and save this this status. And what I want to do now is make sure that these items are included in the superstructure. So I'll just select these over here and include those in the superstructure too. And then when I'm done with that, so add to selected category, and I now have a larger set for the superstructure. I will go ahead and publish this same model again, or this same subset of the model. We'll publish back to Vico Office using that Publish to Vico Office button. We'll select the same project file. So in the model register, I can look up what that needs to be. That is the superstructure as we saw here. So from the Fridays with Trimble project, I want to publish this information, only the selected objects, to the superstructure. Hit publish, and hit OK. And then in the Vico Office side, I get a new entry. So it gives me an exclamation mark here telling me that there is a new version available. That's a version 4, as you can see. I want to keep the same activation options as I had before. So I just hit activate the model. And we'll see that nice addition, not exactly coordinated yet, added to the 3D view. Now remember that in the cost plan, we saved a version. We can go back to the cost planner workflow profile and take a look at planned cost. This cost will now be updated, but by how much we don't know yet, because it's difficult to say where the differences are. So the reporting engine that's built into Vico Office allows you to figure out exactly where those changes are. We can now quickly generate a variance report that tells us where in the cost plan there's quantity or cost differences. And so using one of these predefined reports that you can just import as a template, I can generate a report and pick the version that I want to compare. So I generate that report that will have a selection dialog on the left side of the screen. I pick a left version, which I think should be baseline design, and then the current version, which is always the most up-to-date status, and I hit submit to pull that information from history and compare it to what it is currently. And that then shows me side by side where the differences are. So I got a substructure difference. There's -4, so we now have 4 more foundation elements. In the shell, there is a difference as well. We got not more walls, but we do have additional columns. We do have additional sprayed fire protection, etc., etc. So it quickly helps you find out where those differences are. You can even include a graph to further help clarify where variance exists and help you explain to the owner in communication with the owner what the budget status is and where the differences are and why it is that way. So that concludes the demonstration part. We went through the model in Tekla twice. So we started with the base model and then made some modifications and then completed the full 5D workflow, which enables that cycle, which is the true power of BIM, delivering the flexibility to make what-if analysis or analyze what-if scenarios and optimize the design cost and time for value for the owner.